welcome back. Yeah, I'm starting my intro like this because my camera did something very weird. So now, yeah, I look like this. So, short version of the story is I had my camera too low, so basically all you saw was here until here, and that was obviously not gonna happen. So I did one partial part of my eye off camera, so you're gonna see the exact same steps but on this eye, and my brows are already done. That's how I'm going to be starting off most of my makeup tutorials. Let me know in the comment section down below if you want to see me go more in depth about how I do my brows. That can be arranged. But yeah, let's just forget about the fact that I look like a hot mess right now, maybe minus the hot part, and let's just jump right into the video. So my eye is already primed, and I'm gonna first start off by setting my base. And I'm going to be using the Juvia's Place Magic Palette, and I'm going to be using the shade Kessie. And I'm going to be using the shade Kessie right here and just patting that all over the crease, trying not to get it on my actual eyelid because we're going to go in and cut the lid anyways with concealer, and the less powder that you have on your lid, the easier and smoother the cut crease is going to be. Next, I'm taking my Morphe M441 blending brush, and I'm going to be dipping into Zakia from the Magic Palette by Juvia's Place, as well as Jamila from another Juvia's Place palette of mine, the Saharan palette. And I'm focusing this all over the crease using windshield wiper motions as well as swirling motions, just so that we can blow out this color as much as possible without losing all of the pigmentation. Now picking up a little bit more of that Kessie shade on a Morphe M513 blending brush and just blurring out the edges on the upper crease area just so that that orange isn't too blown out. So you should have something like this, and now we're just going to move right into cutting the lid. And for that, I'm just using this teeny tiny Morphe M508 brush, and you can use any full coverage concealer. Any full coverage concealer to cut the lid. You don't even have to use a concealer. You could use an eye primer. I just prefer a concealer just because it is a little bit of a stickier base. One of the best secrets to doing a cut crease is not closing your eyes. My eyes are slightly opened, and I'm looking down at a mirror. That way my crease doesn't get folds in it from my natural eye shade, just because I do have slightly hooded eyes. So now you should have something like this. But now we are going to set that using the color Buzo from the Juvia's Place Magic Palette. And I'm just patting it all over the lid. And now I'm going back into the Saharan palette by Juvia's Place, and I'm going to take the black Chad and then that sparkly green, dark green colored Kia just in the outer corner of my eye just to deepen it up and add some depth. And I'm just packing that on using the same brush that we used to pack on the green all over the lid. And then just so that there's not a line of demarcation, I'm going to blend the color Yara over that line from the Magic Palette by Juvia's Place. And I'm just using that same packing brush. Then with a small blending brush, this is just a brush that I got from my Ipsy Glam bag, I'm just going to take the edges of that darker color and just feather them outwards, just so that there's not that harsh line there. And now just to deepen up the outer corners of the crease in the eye and tie the green more together, I'm going to add the two red shades from the palette, Koji from the Magic palette and Sokoto from the Saharan palette. And I'm picking those two colors up on a Morphe M433. And then on a clean blending brush, I'm just taking that Kessie shade from the Magic palette again and just furthermore going over any unnecessary edges that I don't want as sharp. Now I'm just going to take the Marc Jacobs highliner in the color Overt, and I'm going to line my upper lash line. Alright, and I kind of felt like the outer corner needed a little something, so I did a little winged liner using the NYX Slide On Glide On pencil in the shade 22 Revolution, and I just curled my lashes and coated them with some mascara by Pure Cosmetics. It's the Fully Charged Mascara. And now we're going to move on to lashes, and the lashes that I'm using are the Cocoa lashes in the style Bella. Alright, now before we finish off the rest of the eyes, we're going to move on to the face. So now for the face, I'm going to use an oldie but a goodie and a weirdo but a lovey. This is the Nivea Post Balm Shave for Sensitive Skin. I know it is for men, but I've found that this is actually a really great moisturizing primer, just because it helps the makeup stick on so nicely. So now, since we're going in with a matte foundation, I am going to be using this old guy right here. This is the L'Oreal, you can see how much it's been loved. The name is like scratched off and everything. This is the L'Oreal True Match Lumi Primer. Just do 2 pumps of that. And just start working it onto the face. And now time for foundation. I have 2 that I really want to use. One of them because it's probably more underrated than the other, but the other one because I feel like with this kind of an eyeshadow look, I need to be a little bit more tan. So I'm going to be mixing my Urban Decay All Nighter Foundation. This is a very full coverage matte foundation, and I'm mixing that with the CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir Foundation. And this one's a little bit more of a satin finish, because I mean it's a healthy look, and I am in the shade 705 Ivory in the CoverGirl one, and I am in the shade 0.5 in the Urban Decay one. So, alright, so I have the two foundations right here, and mixing into them, I'm going to take the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Foundation Drops, the Skin Booster, only because, again, this is a very full coverage situation that I want to make sure that it doesn't fall off of my face due to my dry ass skin. And now I just have that little cocktail right here, and I'm going to just mix that together and apply it to my face using a mini Sephora Pro Blending brush. And I'm just dispensing it on to my face and neck, because again, this is going to be a little bit tanner than I am, so definitely got to bring it down the neck. And this is just something that I like to do anytime I have a more matte full coverage combination on. I like to apply it with a beauty blender. And remember to take it down your neck and onto your ears whenever you are not using your exact foundation shade. That way it'll just blend into everything a whole lot nicer, and there won't be like that straight ass mark of demarcation. That way it won't be so obvious that you're not using your foundation shade. And I'm going to pick up and add a little bit more in areas that I feel that I need fuller coverage, and for me that is on my cheeks and on my nose. God, like, do you guys just see how flawless and airbrushed that looks? Like, it's crazy. It's insane. I don't know why these foundations aren't talked about a little bit more, just because, I mean, they sound like they couldn't be more opposite of each other. Like, the Urban Decay one is very, very full coverage and matte, and then the CoverGirl one is not so matte, but it still has an insane amount of coverage. I think the name of that one is a little bit misleading, only because, I mean, I do not think that that foundation is a super, super glowy foundation, but at the same time, it doesn't give an overly matte finish, so. But using them together, I mean, oh my god, do you guys see my skin right now? Like, it's amazing. It is very full coverage. Yes, it is matte, but I don't look dry at all, and I have very, very dry skin. Now we're going to move on to contouring and concealing. First, I'm going to contour my face, and I'm going to use the Kevyn Aucoin, what is this called? The Liquid Contour Wand. I have the shade medium just because I cannot find where I put the shade light right now, but we're a little bit tanner anyway, so it's actually perfect. It's one of those clicking things. Okay, well, this is actually one of those clicking things where you don't want to click so much because a lot of product does come out right off the bat, which, I mean, I very much appreciate, because a lot of times not a lot of product comes out in these clicky things. So yeah, I'm just going to contour my nose with this and my cheeks. And I really don't ever really contour my forehead, just because I have a smaller forehead, so I just find that I don't really have the need to do that. I definitely have the need to contour my jaw. That goes without any question. And I'm just going to quickly, blend that in with my sponge. Liquid contour is a lot easier for me when I use it with my Clarisonic, but I unfortunately forgot that. Don't know how I managed to do that, but I did. Alright, I'm going to leave my nose contour there just for a quick second. Now I'm going to move on to concealer. This has actually become a new favorite of mine. This is by Bare Minerals. I don't really use Bare Minerals products. I'm not the biggest fan of their eyeshadows. I break out all the time from their face products, except this one. I haven't been able to put it down. This is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Concealer. I am in the shade Fair Cool 01. And I'm also not that big of a fan of stick concealers either. I love stick foundations, but stick concealers I am not the biggest fan of. But this one, I swear, it's amazing on a whole other level. And then for the under eyes, when it comes to cream products, I like to take my Morphe E20 brush and just buff and pat it on the under eyes. The great thing is this concealer barely even creases. Like, if you have more mature skin or just really bad fine lines, you want to set this. But if you are younger or you have maybe oilier skin, what? Or you do have drier skin, but you don't really crease that easily, you don't even really have to set this. Now, for people who know me, or know what products that I use, I have two under eye powders and I use them for very different purposes. One of my under eye setting powders is the MAC and Patrick Star setting powder, but I'm not going to use that one for this video just because it is a hyped about, well-known product. So instead for this video, I'm going to use something that's not as well known, even though it is really, really good. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Loose setting powder in the shade number 5. In the color number 5. Now let me just tap these creases away and then immediately set it. And since this is a fuller coverage look, I don't like to bake on top of something that's already full coverage, but I do like to take a lot of powder and really, really work at patting it into the skin. You know, because that way it's not going to go anywhere. Whenever I wear a more satin finished foundation, I don't really like to use as much powder. And then with a glowy foundation, in certain areas for that, I do like to bake my face. Just because, first of all, I don't like being too glowy all over my face. And now, speaking of all over the face, now I'm going to set the rest of my face. And when it comes to setting and baking my face, I like to use different things. And I mean, we all know the Laura Mercier translucent powder. That one is a really, really, really nice one for like baking certain areas of the face. But again, we're not gonna go in with that one just because that one is so well known. Then we have the other powder that I use, and this is the Too Faced Born This Way setting powder. They're both pretty well known, but I just picked the one of the two that's not as well known. Maybe not as well known, not as used as often. And so for me, that is this one. So that is the powder that we're going to use to bake. And then for setting the face, I really like to set my face using very glowy powders. Normally, I really, really love using this one by Hourglass. This is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Ethereal Light. And I really do enjoy this one, but I feel like this one is more well known than my other one, which is even more glowy. which is actually perfect since I am so matte right now. This one's actually very, very perfect to use. This one is the Lancome Absolute powder in the shade Absolute Peach, I think it's called. So this is what I'm going to use to set my whole face, just very, very lightly. And for that, I like to take just a big fluffy brush. I'm gonna take this again all over my face, so on my chin, all on down my neck, all over my cheeks. And then once the whole face is set, I like to just take my beauty blender and just make sure that there's no excess powder. I don't like to take the powder directly with the beauty blender right away, just because, again, I'm not trying to bake my face. I'm not trying to take a shitload of powder. Like, I just took very little, and now I'm set. And also, you want to take a very little amount with this powder, only because it is so glowy, and you don't want to look too shiny. So now before I go to bake my face, I am going to set my contour. Now before I go into contour, for my bronzer, I do want a very glowy base. And I really want to use this guy because this guy is another not that well-known type of product. These are the L'Oreal True Match Liquid Illuminators. And this one is in the shade Golden. So I really want to take that. I'm going to just take my finger and just warm it up on the back of my hand. And then I'm going to take my beauty sponge and just dab it in there. And just put it on the bronzing areas of my face. Even though we already did put powder on, it was a very light amount. So it shouldn't affect the way this goes on, especially because it's already been warmed up. And now we're going to go ahead and finish up further contouring the face, and for that I am using the Kevyn Aucoin Medium Sculpting Powder in the shade Light. And for contouring, I like taking my Morphe Y3 brush just because it kind of has that like reverse hourglass shape. You know how an hourglass goes like this? Well, this one goes like that type of thing, so it has a precise point to hit the contour of your face, and then for more hollow areas, when it goes in more, it has this less tapered, more flared out edge just to blend it out further, just to make sure that there are no harsh lines. See, look at how sharp that edge is. And it literally just blends your contour out for you so easily. And now for bronzer, I'm going to take my Morphe M527 brush and the IT Cosmetics Ombre Radiance Bronzer in Warmth Radiance. As you can see, it has been used and abused by me, but I do not know why this bronzer isn't more so talked about. I have used this bronzer so much. When you normally see how it comes, it has like it's literally an ombre effect from like the lightest like highlighter shade to like a more matte, really warm tone bronzer shade. But again, I've used it a lot because, I mean, I really, really absolutely do love it. Make sure you bring this down the neck, on the ears. Right now I'm just getting rid of any excess powder that might be caught in any fine lines. That is definitely something that you do not want. And this is just a Morphe M530 brush. Now for highlight, I don't really have a liquid highlighter that is that unknown, so I'm just jumping right into powder highlighters. And we all know Sleek and the Solstice palette. I have it right here, the Solstice Highlighting Palette by Sleek. This one is like the most popular and the most well known, but they also have these two. This one is the Precious Charms ones. There's one powder and 3 creams. So yeah, this one is the powder one and the rest are all creams. So I think as a base, I'm gonna put down these 2 colors. as, again, just as a base, and I'm just picking that up on my Beauty Blender just to give the highlight something to stick onto. And now I'm gonna dip into this guy right here, Cleopatra's Kiss, this palette, and in this one, these two right here are creams, and then these two are powders, and I'm gonna take this powder highlighter right here, and I'm just gonna take that on my Morphe M310 fan brush. Like, that is very, very pretty. I'm also gonna take that down my nose and on my chin. And then I'm actually going to move right on to blush now. This isn't technically a blush. These are the NYX Dual Chromatic Illuminating Powders. I have mine in the shade 05 Synthetica, and it is actually this gorgeous, gorgeous, like pinky, orangey peach shade. And I'm going to just take that on my Morphe E3 brush. Just a little bit though, just because these do have a tendency to be pretty powdery, but they are so beautiful. Like, they just give that very gorgeous, like, sheen right to the cheeks. Like, it's very, very, very stunning. I absolutely love this one. Next up, just to let all the powders settle into my face, I'm just going to spritz my face. Alright, now it's time to finish up the eyes, moving on to the lower lash line. I'm actually now going to be dipping into the NYX In Your Elements palette. This one is the water one. And with a Morphe M432 brush, I'm going to take this shade right here, this really deep dark green shade. And I'm going to keep this as close to the lower lash line as possible and connect it to that outer wing. And I'm not bringing this all the way in, I'm stopping right here. Then for my inner corners, I just sprayed this Morphe M431 pencil brush, and I'm going to take these two shades right here to highlight my inner corners. And now with a Morphe R35 brush, I'm actually going to dip into this other NYX palette from the In Your Elements collection, and this is the Fire palette. And I know that this is going to sound so weird, but I'm going to take this red shade so that everything is cohesive. This orange shade just to make sure that it's not too red. And then mix it with this chocolatey brown shade just because I want the focus to more so be on the lids and not the lower lash line. And then after that, even lower on the lower lash line, with a clean blending brush, I'm going to take this shade just to... You'll see what I'm going to do. Alright, and now just to make sure that the eyes are not too closed off, I'm going to add a white in my waterline. And now just to make sure that the eyes are not too closed off, I'm going to add a white in my waterline. And for this, I am using the Marc Jacobs Fine Liner in this white shade right here called Big Eyes. Alright, next up, I decided that I wanted to put another highlighter over top just because this is not blinding enough for me. So I'm literally staring at all of my highlighters right now. There are two highlighters that I have in front of me. They're both loose highlighters. I don't really feel like these are talked about all that often. This is by Inglot, and these are the Body Pigment Powders. This one is in the shade 180. It's in the shade, that one's in the shade 180, and I also have 179, but 179 is very, very frosty, and I'm a little bit tanner right now, so I'm probably going to use 180. But then I also have by L'Oreal the True Match Lumi Shimmerista Illuminating Highlight Strobe Powder, and I have mine in 505 Moonlight. I don't even know which one I want to use. I'm actually just gonna mix both of them. This is either a very, very terrible idea, or it's gonna be the best thing that's ever happened to me. So first I mix them up in this little cap, and I'm gonna pick some up on my Morphe M510. I'm gonna spray my brush with some MAC Fix Plus. Alright, here we go. Oh boy. Oh my word! I got a little bit too carried away there. I'm probably just going to continue to use the Inglot one just because I think for how tan my foundation is, the L'Oreal one is a little bit too frosty for me. Oh my god. So obviously, like it was predicted, mixing them was probably not the best idea just because when I look straight on, you can kind of see a grayish cast. So whenever something like that happens, I like to just take my beauty blender and just dab it just so that it melts further into the skin. This side is like totally fine, but then this side is like, okay, we went a little overboard. Damn, let's just move on to the lips. First things first, I'm going to line my lips using the NYX Cosmetics Slide On Glide On pencil in the shade number 8, Sugar Glass. And now first I'm going to go in with Jennifer's Nude. And then just in the center, I'm going to take Urban Safari. Okay guys, that completes the end of this video. I did end up just throwing the gloss on just like right here in the center. And I can't seem to find it anymore. Lord have mercy. I put on ColourPop and I Love Sarai's collaboration with the lip gloss Atole, and I decided to add a little bit of glitter on my eyes just because, I mean, we already were going all out. I thought, why the fuck not? And I actually did use this glitter glue by MBA Cosmetics, as well as their glitters. I got this when I went to not America's Beauty Show, the makeup show that they have in Chicago, and they had a build your own palette station. So look at all of this. Like, these glitters are so amazing. I took these two right here and I just combined them on my eyes. And yeah, that is it guys. Please like this video if you love seeing makeup tutorials, and please subscribe to my channel if you love seeing really colorful, creative looks. Along with like a tag video. Like, again, this one was a makeup tutorial along with the fact that I was using products, you know, that aren't the most hyped about. And yeah, that is it. I love you all so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys in my next video. All I really need to understand is